Hey everybody, it's the Prez. It's the NFL Presidential Address. Kelly Stewart with us like always. It's my favorite show of the week. I'm so excited to talk NFL. We're going to take apart every single game on the board, give out sides and totals, and from here on in, inspired by Marco and VR's show, Bet On It, the #1 watched handicapping show on the internet. Took over my spot by a mile, but we'll speak about that in a sec. We're going to have a segment at the end of the show where I'm going to give you a 3-team 10-point teaser. I'm going to give you a money line dog that is going to win. And we're going to talk a little bit about Survivor because I'm in a Survivor pool this year for the first time in about 10 years. And I got to tell you about my Survivor story, what I did 10 years ago and why I never entered it again. So we're going to do that all at the end of the show. Kelly's already nodding her head, shaking, and thinking, oh, God, I got to put up with this guy for an hour.
Oh, Prez, we know between us, we have a great time each and every week breaking down the NFL. How did you do? So if you guys didn't know, Prez entered the Super Contest. Teddy covers as one partner. Carmine Bianco's the other. You and Teddy did really well.
Yeah, we went 4-1, and our actual only loser was San Diego was the LA Chargers, which really had the game in the bag until Phillip Rivers decided to throw an interception. So 4-1 with Kelly, with Teddy, and 2-3 with Carm. That's okay though, Kel. I mean, listen, there's a lot of people that enter this thing. We're going to need to hit in the mid-60s to win this. It's just going to be fun. I mean, I'm in that. I've got a fantasy football team that is a disaster. I'm 0-1 already to start. And of course,
Me too.
I'm in Survivor for the first time in 10 years, and I had Philadelphia, so I had to sweat that game, to say the least. We're going to talk Survivor at the end of the show, and I want to talk a bunch about it because it's a fascinating thing. I don't know if you're in the same league as I am, but I just saw some utterly stupid strategies. Anyway, Kel, big show today. So much to talk about. You know, there's no bye week yet, so we have so many games to go through, and we want to keep the show under an hour. Why don't we just start on Thursday night, and then we'll race to a commercial break and go through the rest of the card. Kel, people think I'm the host and you're my guest. It's the other way around, even though I do all the talking. But hey, I always do all the talking.
This is very factual.
I hand the show to you.
All right, Thursday night. I tweeted this out last night. How much do I hate myself? Apparently a lot, because I'm really looking at taking the 7 here. This is hard for me. Jameis threw 3 interceptions, including a pick 6 Sunday, and I watched the entire game. I watched it with was watching a bunch of other games unfold as well, and I'm going, this is why you don't bet on Tampa Bay, because Jameis is so inconsistent. He is just utterly atrocious. Someone tweeted me this morning, don't worry, half the locker room had the flu. They're not as bad as they look. Take the 7. Prez, are you taking the 7?
No, and I'm going to tell you why, but before I get into that, Kelly, let me just say that you know, we've had sound issues with my shows, and I'm trying my best. I'm actually pulling my hair out. I had hair down on my back at the start of the NFL season. We're 1 week in, and I cut it nice and short, actually pulled it. We're taping the show both ways today. We're taping it the old school way without the green screen right through Skype, and we're also taping it the new style. I don't know which one we're going to use. So if you guys are seeing the old school style with just the actual green screen being green and no graphics, my apologies. Right now, my entire focus is just on getting the sound right. As for this game, Kelly, you know, I don't like the side. And we're going to talk a lot about this all show. It's really... I find week 2 to be a really tough week every year. It could be an overreaction week. You know, you look at Pittsburgh Steelers. How are they? Who are they? You know, you look at Seattle. Who are they? 200 yards to the minus against Cincinnati at home. You look at Baltimore. They're not 59 points good. You look at Miami. They're not negative 52 points bad. Is New England as good as they are? I need the season to start falling into shape, and this Carolina-Tampa Bay game is a perfect example. Who is this Tampa Bay team? is Jameis Winston really that bad? Are they going to get going? Is Bruce Arians going to be a really good offensive play caller? How good are Carolina? They held it their own against the LA Rams all game last week. Greg Olsen wasn't terrible. Christian McCaffrey looked unbelievable. Cam Newton looks like he's in midseason form. What are their defense like? I mean, they were playing a juggernaut offensively last week. How good really are they? There's so many questions going into week 2 in so many of these games, and this is really one of them. I'm going to need to see a little bit more out of Carolina to lay 7, and I'm honestly going to have to see a little bit more out of Tampa Bay to take 7. There is a 6.5 on the board, and if you ask me, I would say that gun held to my head, I'm going to take the 6.5, but I'll tell you what I really like in this play. I really like over the total of 49.5 points. I think we've seen Carolina score. They were able to score a lot last year when they were not injured. And they scored a lot last week. I think Tampa Bay is going to have a real tough time slowing down this team. And, you take the 3 interceptions away, 2 pick sixes by Winston. This team was able to move the ball. I think Tampa Bay is going to struggle on defense, but I think their offense is going to be okay. I think where to play this game is on over the total. I honestly expect this game to get into the mid-50s. It's come down from 51 to 49.5, and that's where I'm going.
All right. I'm still undecided if I'm going to play the 7 or not. By Thursday night will probably get me over that hump. Okay, do you want to do your commercial now, or do you want to get into the Sunday games?
Let's do a quick commercial break, and then we'll go straight into Sunday games. And don't forget, everybody, at the end of the show, we're going to do a Survivor segment, a Moneyline Dog segment, and a teaser segment. Hey, everybody, real quick, I just want to give you guys an incredible offer that expires on Sunday. We spoke about Dwayne Bryant in our NFL preview show, and he honestly is one of the best NFL handicappers alive. We actually got him to join wagertalk.com because of his NFL totals. These plays are legendary. He started the season off 1-2 or 1-3 last Sunday, but he did win his 5-unit play. So all the winners you have not missed. 50% off of his entire NFL season. That's literally 50% off his entire NFL season. You can get it by going to wagertalk.com and use the promo code DB50. That's DB for Dwayne Bryant 50. Do not sleep on that promotion. Kel, I went 2-4 on the week. I had Green Bay. We're going to talk about that during the show. Sunday I went 0-3. I lost on the under in the Tennessee game. I thought I had that game in the bag until 4 touchdowns. Yeah, 4 touchdowns in 7 minutes. So I lost on that. I had the over in the Atlanta-Minnesota game. Oh my God, I'm banning myself from taking Atlanta in any game for the rest of this season. Please keep that in mind. And I had the under in the Dallas game, which I thought I had locked up until the New York Giants scored with 3 to go in the game. At least
the under in the Saints game. I think that might have been the worst total beat of the week.
Yeah, but what an exciting game, and we'll talk about that later. And on Monday night, I had Houston. Wow, what an ending. And I also had Denver. Real surprising about Denver and Oakland, and we'll talk about that later. So I had a 2-4 week. It really cuts me to the core. I cannot stand losing. It kills me, Kel.
Yeah, nobody likes losing. I had the Titans. Let's see, what else did I have? I had the Vikings. I had my Bengals best bet that I gave out to everyone. I had the Texans on Monday night, and then I took the Broncos second half. I had a couple of second half plays on Sunday. And all in all, it appeared to be a bloodbath. I just pulled up a couple of my accounts. I'm like, okay, not so bad. Have you ever had a weekend so bad that you're just like, I just don't want to look to see how bad it was? Because that's what just happened.
Yes.
But in theory, it wasn't as bad looking at it now as I initially thought. Our buddy Kenny White texted me, hey, Cal, I'll take the second half over in the Rams game. I started looking at it. It was like, fine, let's let's roll. After everything else was looking terrible, and that was a nice, easy winner. So I'm going to keep an eye on some of these teams. Take notes. Week 1, as you mentioned, week 2 is really tough to handicap. Should we get into week 2?
I just want to quickly mention that you want to know how close Kelly and I are. She got this incredible information from Kenny White, and she didn't share. But
Prez, in my defense, I'm sitting at the Caesars Palace Sportsbook with
I
Chad.
don't want to hear your.
And I didn't share with him
I don't want to
either.
hear your excuses, Kelly. My biggest bet of the entire week was Philadelphia in the second half, and I won that, and it actually saved me. I ended up breaking even. Okay, let's get into it. Lots of games on tap. Let's race through them all. We're going to keep the show under an hour.
Okay, we better get going then. Indianapolis and Tennessee. Pretty much 3 minus 120 across the board here in Vegas if you want to bet the Titans. I liked what I saw from the Titans. Like I said, that was the one bet. I really didn't have to sweat that and the Bengals, which was really nice. Didn't get to catch much of the Indianapolis Chargers game because it was on the other side of the sportsbook and I had no action, so I didn't really watch much. Right. But I will take away that from at least from the box score, Jacoby Brissett looks like a serviceable quarterback. And the Titans, a little bit better than everybody was thinking.
Well, let's talk Indianapolis first, Kel. And you don't want to say Adam Vinatieri is done, but Adam Vinatieri is done. Some missed field goals, missed extra point. Indianapolis could have won that game outright had Adam Vinatieri been Adam Vinatieri. But the guy is like in his mid-40s, fully gray. His balls probably hang down below his knees. I'm talking about footballs, Kelly. You got to get your mind out of the gutter.
I just had a really bad visual of Adam Vinatieri's balls.
Yeah, well, that's on you. Kel, who told you to not sleep on Tennessee? I think this team has got a fighting chance to win the division. I told you their defense is going to be unbelievable, and they were. Cleveland shot themselves in the foot, but either way, I actually thought Tennessee manhandled Cleveland with or without the penalties. You know, I look at this game, and I'm going to be real straightforward. I like Tennessee minus the 3 here. I think Indianapolis last week played their heart outs. Might have played their best game of the season. Don't want to use a sexual reference, but they probably shot their load. Again, Kelly, you got to get your mind out of the gutter. Tennessee minus 3 is the play for me, and I lean on the under, Kel, and I will be leaning on the under in every Tennessee game all year. But I'm really high on this Tennessee team. I think Derrick Henry is just an animal. I think their defense.
He played great on Sunday. I was very impressed with him. Too bad I don't have him on our fantasy team.
Yeah, and I think Tennessee's defense is phenomenal. I think they're going to keep Indianapolis under 17 points this game. So, yeah, I like Tennessee, and I like under the total.
Okay. Chargers at Detroit. Chargers laying 2.5 on the road. Now, if you guys have been watching the show for a while, you know my personal philosophy is I just don't bet road chalk. I just cross those games out. Some weeks makes it harder than others, but I just can't do it. Now, that being said, we've seen the Chargers for the last few years play better away from their soccer stadium. Detroit somehow blew that lead and ended up in a tie with Arizona. I was driving to go do a podcast. I get to the Westgate, and I'm going, wait, this game's going to end in a tie. And, of course, every sportsbook manager in the place was very ecstatic because they needed Cardinals really bad. Prez, are you laying 2.5 on the road here with the Chargers?
Kel, you know, I hate, this show is about picking sides and totals on every game. With that said, I cannot give out plays that I literally have no opinion about whatsoever. I'm a complete pass in this game in both directions. Detroit looked good for 3 quarters, and especially on defense, and then they fell apart. The Chargers, well, they look good offensively, but they did make a lot of mistakes. They did not look great defensively. If I've got to bet this game, I'm going to look at under the total of 48 points. I think the Chargers will keep Detroit down, and I think Detroit's defense is a lot better than people give it credit for. I can't lay on the side here at all. I like under the total, but I don't like it enough to bet.
All right, more road chalk. Buffalo laying 2 at the New York Giants. Totals coming down. It opened 43. Well, now we're seeing it bounce back and forth. Opened 43, now 43.5, 44. I took the 7 with the Giants. Ralph Michaels, as I mentioned, gave out a bunch of cool stats. We talked about divisional underdogs. Eli's got to go to Daniel Jones. I know it's only week 2, but we got to see Daniel Jones here by week 4, week 5, right?
Kelly, Eli did not have a bad game last week. I mean, he put up a lot of yards. He had a decent pass completion rate.
Did you see his quarterback sneak?
And look, the Giants were in that game right up until about the 2-minute mark of the first quarter. So give them some credit. That was a joke, Kelly.
At a point in time, I'm like, Prez, did we watch the same game?
That was
like,
a joke.
Okay.
I think they went up 3-0. I can't even remember, or 7-0. Whatever the case may be. You know, here we go. We look at this Buffalo team, and who are they? Are they the team that played the first 3 quarters against the New York Jets, unable to move the ball whatsoever? Or are they the team that, you know, Josh Allen marched them down the field in the fourth quarter twice, and they ended up winning the game 17-16? I need to see a little bit more of the Buffalo Bills to figure out how good they are offensively. I know they've opened the game up a bit. They're running a more wide receiver sets. But I think this Buffalo defense is outstanding. You know, then you take a look at the New York Giants. Is their defense really as bad as it is, or is Dallas's offense an absolute juggernaut? I do not believe Dallas's offense is as good as they were last game, which suggests to me that the New York Giants defense really is that bad. I don't know what to do here from a total perspective, but I'll tell you what, Kel. Here's what I know. The same bookmakers that put out a line for the Giants to win 5.5, 6 games, those very same bookmakers have the Giants at +2 at home. So riddle me this. If the Giants are going to win 6 games this year, according to the bookmakers, surely they're going to win at home against the Buffalo Bills. And that's what I think will happen. I like the Giants in this spot. Even though Buffalo is playing basically at home, you know, 4-hour drive away from their stadium. They're going to have a lot of fans in there. I think we're going to see a good game from the New York Giants. I don't believe in Buffalo yet. And I'm going to take the home dog at +2. What do you think?
Yeah, I have to agree with you here. It's Giants or pass. I'm not quite there yet. Maybe hoping to find some better games on the board. Let's talk about, in my opinion, one of the biggest overreaction games of the week, as you mentioned, is Baltimore. Really, that 52-point offensive.
Yeah, and I mentioned 59 points at the beginning of the show. My apologies. You know, Kel, I want Baltimore to slaughter Arizona this week. I think it sets up an incredible fade opportunity for the weeks to come with Baltimore, and I think it'll force them to be overvalued by the line makers. I don't know if that's going to happen. -13.5 is not something I normally bet. I don't bet it on the
digit favorites historically do pretty well in the NFL. At least the last few years.
Yes, I agree. Minus New England at any time they're -17 or over, and we're going to get to that. I can't touch this game, Kel. I can't play Baltimore at -13.5. What I do like is under the total of 46.5. I think Arizona is going to really struggle to put up numbers in this game, and I think we saw Arizona's defense look pretty decent against Detroit last week. I'm not going to get to the window on this game at all, and I want to apologize to everybody for not having definitive thoughts on some of these games. You guys are all using your own hard-earned money. I'm betting my own hard-earned money, and I'm not going to just make stuff up. I like under the total of 46.5, and I have nothing for you on the side. Kel, before we get into the New England-Miami game, let's talk about Bet On It with Marco VR and you. We had close to 10,000 views on the NFL presidential address last week. Marco VR and your show, Bet On It, had over 30,000 views. I am so excited about this. You know, we were the #1 watched NFL handicapping show on the internet last year, and then Marco and VR and you put out your show, and now we're not even close. We're now the second most watched show, and I am good with that. Girl, 30,000 views on its inaugural show. Unbelievable. I want to give a huge shout out to Gianni the Greek and Marco. If my show's going to be beat by any show, let it be another Wager Talk show. I watched the show from start to finish. It's very, very different to the show that we do, but it is exceptional. The information is amazing. I think it is a must-watch show. I am so proud of all three of you guys and so thrilled for Wager Talk that we could have such a great start to a football show.
Yeah, it was when Johnny kept sending the updates, I was like, wow, this is really catching fire. Obviously, they have a little bit of background doing some other NFL shows. So this was, it was kind of
yeah, and you know, Kel, what I really love the most is the amount of love that I give that show. Talk about it on Morning Joe, talk about it on the college football betting show, talk about it in the NFL presidential address. Literally stop what we're doing to discuss that show for about 5 minutes. So I was watching it and I was thinking, you know, I'm going to get some love. They're going to promote the NFL presidential address. At around the 40-minute mark, I think you mentioned, hey, there's an NFL presidential address. And I think Marco's comeback was, yeah, so about the Arizona game. So real big, you know, love to all three of you guys for really pushing this show. Yeah. No comment, Kel?
Yeah, sorry, Prez. I tried to do what I'm told. I got a list of a rundown. I said something. I threw it out in there. That's because you even texted me. I threw it out in there. It was the best I could do.
Yeah, well, ability. You know what? That's okay. I don't need their help, and I cheer for them more than anybody else. So congratulations to you, VR and Marco, for a well-done show. Let's get back to the NFL presidential address. Miami hosting New England. Kelly, I'm going to ask you about this game. New England minus 19 and a half, a total of 48. What do you like in this one?
Yeah, Prez, this is tough. I mean, if it hits 20, I'm going to bet Miami. I'm out of my mind, but I took Miami in the 7.5 last year. I bet against New England at Detroit. I bet against New England at Jacksonville last year. Listen, New England's problems are far and few between in Foxborough, but on the road, we've seen them struggle over the years. I'm not sold that AB's, if he is going to be playing, isn't going to be distracted with all this other stuff going on as well, plus learning a new system. It's not that easy to just jump into Bill Belichick's system and get it done. If it hits 20, I think I have no choice but to take the Dolphins.
Kel, you know, let me throw out some actually very interesting trends. And, you know, I'm not a trend guy, but in this instance, I think all of them are very important. New England has won one of their last 6 games in Miami. One of their last 6 games. Straight up. Forget about covering the spread. They really struggle in Miami. The second thing is New England 0-5 against the spread when over minus 17. That is a stat that you would not think exists. Furthermore, all teams over minus 17, whether away or at home, 5-15 in the last 20 times that number has been out. Not only that, Kel, but only one time has that minus 17 or more been on an away team. It happened to be New England, and they didn't cover. So every trend in the world suggests that you should take Miami in this spot. I can't do it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It's going to be tough.
I can't take Miami, and I can't take New England. I can't take the over, and I can't take the under. But I do have a bet.
Okay.
I like Miami in the first half. And here's why. This is their Super Bowl. This is absolutely
their Super Bowl. You're right.
This is a game that they are going to play their best game of the year, at least for the first half. They are going to come out fired up. They are going to do everything they can to try to win this game. They're going to go into the half down 6-10, which, 6-8, which is still going to cover that half. And then they're going to come out in the second half and be completely destroyed.
Yeah, I'm seeing 12.5 as the first half spread.
Right.
That's nuts.
Yeah. So I really like Miami in the first half. I actually like it a lot, and I will be betting my own money on Miami in the first half. Hopefully they'll keep it super close, maybe even within 3 to 6 points. And then we can jump right on New England in the second half and cash 2 tickets. That's where I'm at with this New England-Miami game.
Okay. Let's give out a money line dog that we like. So I don't want to talk too much about the next couple of teams because I'm looking at some money line dogs coming up here. But Dallas at Washington. Washington catching 5. Total 46.5. I'm leaning towards the Redskins here early in the week. That being said, you mentioned how great Dallas's offense looked, maybe how poor the Giants' defense looked last week. But this 5 with Washington has me eyeball moneyline underdog.
Well, look, Kel, this Washington team pushed on 5 against Philadelphia in Philadelphia last week, and they could have won that football game. They played outstanding in the first half and completely fell apart in the second half. So here we go again in week 2 with just too little information. Who is this Washington team? Conversely, I feel the same about Dallas. How bad are the New York Giants? I don't know. How good is Dallas? I don't know. They've got 1 game. Michael Gallup. Who is this guy went off last week? He's on my fantasy team. I put him on the bench, for Christ's sake. I need to see. Right. Say that again?
So that sounds about right. Usually that's what happens to me is some guy that I didn't really know much about goes off because he's sitting on the bench.
Yeah, well, what can you do, Kel? That's going to happen all year round. I missed the waiver wire, Kel. It was last night. I thought it was Wednesday night. I didn't get to pick up anybody. So whatever. Don't care about fantasy, even though you and I have a $500 bet in this fantasy thing.
It's okay. Drew Martin just absolutely slaughtered my team, and I put up almost 150 points.
Yeah. Nobody got more slaughtered than me, Kel. I literally lost by 150 points.
Okay, well, that makes me feel better about our season-long bet then.
Anyway, Kel, look, I like Washington in this spot. We spoke last week on the NFL Presidential Address about these rivalry games, these division games, and if I can get, +3, +4, +5, especially the home team, I'm going to just take it. I think Washington is going to play Dallas a hell of a lot closer than the New York Giants played Dallas. And I think if Washington is down by 7, down by 10, and have the ball with time to go in the game, I think they're going to march down the field and get us that backdoor cover. I like Washington at +5, and I think I might even get to the window with this play. I don't think Dallas is as good as they are, but I was really impressed with them last week. I think we're going to get a much better performance out of Washington's defense. I lean on under the total too. It's 46.5. There is actually a 47 on the board at Bookmaker. So I like under, and I do like Washington just like you.
All right. That sounds great. I like when we agree. Next up, another divisional round. 9. Jacksonville at Houston. Total 43.5. Prez, I'm taking the Jags. I was high on the Jags last week against Kansas City. Nick Foles goes out, broken collarbone. Miles Jack tries to jack somebody in the face and gets kicked out of the game. That game was really just tough to watch. Holmes had another nice touchdown passes. It was tough because I do believe Jacksonville's defense is better than that, and I think this is an overreaction to Houston had a chance to win in New Orleans. Jacksonville is going to get up big for this game.
Yeah, Kel, I can't lay points here, and I can't take points here. I just don't think Jacksonville is a very good team. Their new quarterback, I can't even remember his name, looked good last week. But, we've seen this before. Teams don't game plan for a backup quarterback. He comes into the game. He looks outstanding. Next week, everyone knows he's starting. He comes out and goes 5 for 15. Houston looked amazing on offense. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins, my God. Will Fuller's, catch was unbelievable. They were basically an unstoppable offensive machine last week. We saw what Kansas City did to Jacksonville. I see no reason why Houston can't do that to Jacksonville as well. Houston's defense did not look that great against New Orleans. Where I'm going to play this game is on over the total. I know over the total against a Jacksonville team is a tough thing to do, but I'm pretty certain we're going to get in the high 20s from Houston. And I think Jacksonville will put up some points. Houston's defense just did not look great. I like over the total of 43.5 in that game, and that could be a play for me.
All right. Pittsburgh, man. You're right. You mentioned this at the beginning of the show. I don't know what to make of this Pittsburgh team. It would have mattered at all. Now you're laying 6.5 against the Seahawks. I bet against the Seahawks last week. I always said it takes a couple of weeks for these guys to get. I don't think I can take the points here with Seattle.
Yeah, and I can't either, Kel. I like Pittsburgh in this spot. And the thing about it is I wanted to like Pittsburgh in this spot, too. It's not even that I...
Me too, but I...
Yeah. No, I'm going to bet Pittsburgh. I'm telling you right now, this is a game I'm actually going to bet flat out. Let me break this down for you. Seattle was minus 200 in yards against Cincinnati. In other words, Cincinnati put up 200 yards more than Seattle. Cincinnati entered the red zone 4 times where they did not come away with a single point. Had they have converted even a field goal in one of those 4 times, they win that game outright. They were able to walk up and down the field on Seattle. Seattle, as I said in the NFL preview show, as I said last week, is not a good team. I think, you're going to get a lot of running out of Seattle. But I just don't feel like Seattle is a good team at all. And here's what we know about Pittsburgh. Look, again, if I were to play against Pittsburgh, I would say, hey, they were in a must-win game last year, Week 17. They win it. They're in the playoffs. They lost it. They lost the game before that in Week 16. Are we done? Are they done? Is Ben done? They have no Antonio Brown. They have no Le'Veon Bell. And Mike Tomlin is just a bad coach.
You think Mike Tomlin's a bad coach? I would disagree with that.
Yeah, I do. And I cannot. Kelly, what is the thought process? If you watch Morning Joe and the Pro, Dave Koken made such a great point. It's 20-0. They are third and goal from the 2. They played with an empty backfield. Then they decide to kick the ball.
Field goal, yeah. Kicking is for losers.
No, but forget that. So it's 20-0. They're down by 3 scores. They kick the field goal and it's 20-3 and they're still down by 3 scores. I don't know what the hell happened. With all that said, this is a proud team, and year after year, and we talked about this in the NFL preview show, Pittsburgh comes out and lays an egg, and the next week they put up 50. They were absolutely humiliated, both defensively and offensively, and play calling by New England on primetime television. Pittsburgh is going to come out full throttle this Sunday. I don't know how good this Pittsburgh team is. I was not as high on them as you were at the beginning of the season, but I think Seattle is not a good football team. I think they're going to struggle to win 9 games, and I think if Pittsburgh is going to give you the best game of their life, it's going to be after a humiliating loss against their rivalry foes in Foxborough. Pittsburgh -4 is the play. It's one of my favorite plays on the board.
All right. You heard it from Prez. All right. Almost convincing me to bet it. Next up, my best bet last week And as you mentioned, they had a chance to win that one outright. San Fran, I was not that high on. I don't think that they would have beat the Bucs if Jameis wasn't a turnover machine. That being said, is Cincinnati kind of being a little overvalued this week? -1.5, -2, total 45.
Why? They marched up and down the field on Seattle. Is Seattle's defense better than San Fran's? I would say yes. San Fran's defense was a disaster last year. And look, they got 2 pick sixes. Phenomenal. That's one of those things that does not happen on a regular basis. Correct. They're not going out and getting 2 pick sixes every game. They're not even going to get 1 pick six every game. Frankly, they got 7 interceptions all of last year. Seattle's got a better defense than San Fran, and Cincinnati moved the ball up and down. The Red Rocket looked young, sprightly.
The Red Rifle.
Whatever. I call him the Red Rocket.
Do you know what a Red Rocket is, Prez?
I do. Would you like to see my drawer?
No, I would not.
Okay.
Okay.
I love Cincinnati in this spot. This win by San Fran over Tampa Bay was fraudulent. 2 pick sixes. Tampa Bay turned the ball over, I think, offhand 12 times every drive. Every time they had the ball. I think Cincinnati is a great play right here. I think Cincinnati is angry that they lost that game last week. I think they had that game in the bag. I think we saw another bad play call by the coach going for the field goal instead of a touchdown towards the end of the game there. I'm liking what I'm seeing with this Cincinnati team. You know, look, I have one game to compare. Do I think Cincinnati's going to go out and win the division? No. Do I think they're going to come last place in the division? Likely. But I don't think San Fran is nearly as good as they looked. Jimmy did not have a good game last week. They're struggling.
Jimmy didn't have a good preseason either.
Yeah. And I told you that in the NFL preview show. This guy's got to prove his worth for me to start giving my money up to them. They got no running back left. McKinnon is out. Coleman is done. By the way, he's on my fantasy team.
Me too.
And he's still on my fantasy team because I missed the damn waiver wire. Cincinnati is the play here, Kel, and I think we're going to see this line continue to move. So anyone listening to this show, get down on Cincinnati right now.
Okay. Next up, this is going to be a great game. Minnesota at Green Bay. Green Bay -3, total 44.5. You know I love Coach Zimmer. Coach Zimmer, one of the best against the spread coaches in the country last year. Had a little bit of regression. Had no regression week 1. Really proud of that Minnesota team. They went out and just kicked some straight ass. No sweat to cover that spread. I don't know if I'm going to back them here. I don't like the idea of Kirk Cousins playing in Lambeau. I never have, never will. Minnesota's defense looked pretty good. Green Bay's defense also looked pretty good. Do you like 46 down to 44?
I do like this under, Kel. I like this under a lot, and I also like Minnesota in this game. And let me tell you why. Green Bay's defense looked amazing against Chicago. I think they would have looked really good against Louisiana Tech. That's how bad Chicago's offense is. And I've been telling you this all of last year. I told you this on the NFL preview show. This Chicago offense is anemic. I don't really know how good Green Bay's defense actually is. With that said, we have a 51 on the board in Atlanta against Philadelphia. Clearly, the line makers think Atlanta's offense is better than it showed last week, and so do I. Is Atlanta's offense better than Chicago's offense? Hell yeah! And yet Minnesota held that team to basically 0. I mean, Atlanta put up 2 touchdowns. They were late. They were junk. Minnesota was in prevent mode right from the beginning of the bloody second half. I mean, Minnesota, their special teams blocked a punt. They were unbelievable on special teams. Unbelievable running game. Kirk Cousins, even with only 10 passes, still completed 8 of them and threw touchdowns and was able to stretch the field. Their defense was utterly ridiculous. This Minnesota team looked better than any other team in the league based on competition last week. Now they're going to Lambeau. Green Bay could not move the ball last week. And I don't believe in the Chicago's secondary. I'm going to just take the dog here, Kel. I'm going to take the dog. I'm getting 3. Look, can Green Bay go out and win this game? Sure they can. Can they wallop Minnesota? No chance. And not only that, but what is Green Bay going to be game planning for here, Kel? You think Kirk Cousins is going to throw the ball 10 times every game? Hell no. You think Minnesota's going to be up 14 points in the first quarter against every team and then go into clock control mode? Hell no. This offense will be a hell of a lot more balanced than it was last week. I think Green Bay is going to be very confused. I do not buy into this Green Bay team. I like Minnesota plus the 3. As VR and Marco says, I'm going to sprinkle some money on Minnesota on the money line as well, which we'll get to later on in the show. And yes, Kelly, I like under the total in this game too.
All right. Kansas City at Oakland. I'm pissed. I wanted to bet Oakland at 8. Now, most spots here around town are 7 minus 120, 7.5. Ugh. I'm late to the party. I like Oakland. I think, again, last year I burned a lot of money betting against Kansas City. I burned money week 1 betting against Kansas City, and here I am again looking to bet against Kansas City. I feel like I'm late to the party, though. Not that 8's some key number by any means, but I could have gotten an 8.5 last night.
Okay, Kel, before I get into that, and just a reminder to you, I am not going to bet Atlanta anymore. How about you stop betting against Kansas City? Let's take a quick commercial break and get back, and I'll give you my thoughts on that game. Hey guys, real quick, Andrew McGinnis over at sportsmemo.com, 62% in the Canadian Football League. I know this is the NFL show, but guys, I mean, come on, 62%. There's still a lot more football left in the Canadian Football League. It ends in November. He's got a promotion up at sportsmemo.com that only runs until Friday, literally for $99. That's $99. You can have the rest of his season. And I'm telling you flat out, Andrew is going to do better in Canadian football than most of us will do in the NFL. So if you want money, please head over to sportsmemo.com and buy Andrew McGinnis's Canadian Football for $99. No promo code required. Kel, let's talk about this Kansas City-Oakland game. I thought Oakland looked really good. I thought the play calling from Oakland was exceptional. I thought they had Denver on their heels from the start to the end. I thought they were able to run the ball. They were able to throw the ball. David Carr looked like a machine. I mean, his reads were phenomenal. His reads were phenomenal, Kelly. His footwork was exceptional. He was able to avoid being sacked a lot in that game. I think their defense looked really good, too. I was very impressed with Oakland. The question is, how good is Denver? And we have to take that into account when looking at this Oakland team. Denver really struggled, but I thought the play calling, which is a very major surprise given their new coach, I thought their play calling was really bad. I thought they could not find any offensive rhythm whatsoever in the game. And I think ultimately their defense didn't play as bad as the score looked. I think they just got, frankly, tired.
Well, Fangio calling that field goal there at the end, I'm going, what are you doing? Just go for the touchdown. Give yourself a little momentum. It didn't matter. They were toast.
Yeah, it made no sense to me. Look, I'm not going to back Kansas City in this game, and I'm not going to take Oakland. I like over the total in this game, 53 points. If Jacksonville can score on Kansas City, anybody except maybe Chicago can score on Kansas City. Oakland will put up in the 20s. Kansas City is always good for 30 points every game. It's going to be nice weather. I know Tyreek Hill is out. I don't know if that is going to slow this Kansas City machine down. I'm looking at over the total of 53 points in this game.
Okay, New Orleans at LA was 3, now down to 2.5. New Orleans money coming in, and I'm not
buying it either.
I just can't. I don't think I'm going to lay the 2.5 here. I did think the Rams should have probably lost that game at the Panthers. The Panthers kind of gift wrapped it to them and on multiple occasions. That being said, I think this is my stay away game. These are two teams I need to learn more about.
Yeah, look, I like the Rams in this spot, Kel. I think the Rams are a better team. I think they have a much better defense, and I think they have a better offense. I think you're going to see a change in their offense, though, this year. I think with Todd Gurley and his arthritic knees struggling, I think we're going to see the mantra in LA being move the chains. You look at what Kupp did last week. 40 yards on 6 catches. What does that tell you? That tells you that this LA Rams team is dinking and dunking. I don't think you're going to see the Rams throw the ball as far or as long as they did last year. And I think although that bodes poorly for over the totals, because I think the LA Rams' average score this year will be 3 to 5 less than it was last year, I think it bodes well for the Rams as a team. Any team that can hold the ball longer and actually move the chains is a team that keeps their defense off the field and keeps the other team's offense off the field. And I think that's what we're going to see in this Rams game. I think the Rams' time of possession is going to be greater than New Orleans. I think the Rams are going to move the ball on New Orleans, and I think they're going to move the ball slowly on New Orleans. I think the Rams' defense is going to be rested and ready on every time they go out there. I think Rams is a better team in all facets of the game. I like the Rams minus 2.5. Look, I want to play under the total in this game, and I want to play over the total in this game. So as far as the total goes, I'm going to pass. I can make an argument for both sides, but I really do like the Rams at minus 2.5.
All right, let's talk about Chicago-Denver. We kind of touched on it a little bit, so we'll keep it quick here. Listen, the look-ahead lines that the Westgate puts out is something that I use as a tool, right? And I said, okay, Denver -1 is what it originally was. Move to Pick'em. I said to John Murray, what happens if they lose this game? It'll probably move to Chicago -1. Sure enough, now it's Chicago -2.5. I understand that there's not a lot of movement and a lot of money required to move in between 1.5 on either side. That being said, 2.5 looks awful juicy here. I'm not betting it just yet, but we may see a 3. I mean, 2.5's already moved to -115, -120 in some spots.
Yeah, I think this game's going to end 0-0 at plus 65,000. I can't play Chicago at -2.5. I mean, this team just looked goddamn awful last week. They put up less points than Denver, for Christ's sake. And they were at home. I like the under in this game. It came out at 41. There's actually a 39.5 on the board. I don't care if this goes down to 37. I really cannot accept either of these teams being in the 20s. Denver's defense is really good. I think they're going to be all over Trubisky. Chicago's offense stinks. Chicago's defense from a front seven perspective is really good. I've told you I don't buy their secondary, but I think Denver's going to run the ball a lot more than they pass the ball. So from a matchup perspective, I think Denver's offense actually feeds in really well to Chicago's defense. I like under the total in this game. That's the only way I can see this game going.
All right. I know you said you weren't betting on Atlanta, but guess who already bet on Atlanta? Me. So, being said, I just felt like it needed to be played. I think the line's going to be gone. You know, I love the primetime home dogs. Raiders already cashed as primetime home dogs. I think we don't overreact to what we saw last week. The Eagles definitely struggled. I don't think the Falcons are as bad as they played. I have no good trends to back up anything that I'm saying. I'm just going to ride with the primetime home dog. That's all I got.
Yeah, I don't consider a +1 a home dog, but if you do, feel good about yourself. That's a pick'em to me. Look, let me take this game apart for you. I'm not going to bet Atlanta. I'm not going to do it by rule. I have literally, I tattooed no betting Atlanta. But I do think Atlanta is going to score. I think their offense they really, I mean, they went into field goal range the first 4 times they had the ball against Minnesota. 3 of those times they had a holding call that took them out of field goal range. And then they had the interception the 4th time. Atlanta was able to move the ball between the 30s, but really struggled in the red zone. And we've seen this pretty much for 2 seasons now. I think Atlanta's going to right themselves offensively. I think they're just so potent offensively. So, yeah, can I see Atlanta put up 24, 28 points in this game? Absolutely. Philadelphia doesn't have a good defense. We saw Washington tear them apart in the first half. They're also slow in the secondary, and they've got to guard Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley, Sanu and Hardy. Hooper in the middle. They've got to watch out for Devontae Freeman. Matt Ryan can whip the ball around. I think Atlanta's going to put up points. So if I'm not going to bet Atlanta, and I think Atlanta is going to put up points, that only leaves one bet, over 51. Not only do I like over 51 if the game was at 1 o'clock on grass, not only do I like 51 if the game was at 4:30 on a beach, but I got a primetime game in a dome with 2 teams that are going to shred each other. Over 51, one of my favorite plays on the board.
All right, Monday night. I just mentioned why I was taking Atlanta, and that's why I'm taking the Jets. Listen, you mentioned the Jets looked better, than the Bills for a better part of 3 quarters last week. Then Josh Allen stepped in and made a couple big plays. I'm fading Cleveland. That's basically what this is. I don't want to play on the Jets. I'm playing against Cleveland yet again, taking the 2.5 for the Jets.
Yeah, Kel, so, I mean, for me, I can't touch the side in this game. You know, I think Cleveland's a hell of a lot better team than they were last week, and I think they're mad. And I think Baker Mayfield is going to be one of these Brett Favre-type quarterbacks where he just cannot deal with losing. I think this is a guy that probably puked his guts out, or as I call it, vomited all night Sunday night. I think this guy just is a true winner. And I think the New York Jets are going to be a team that plays to the over, and they didn't last week. So I think we're going to get a better New York Jets team. I think we're going to get a better Cleveland team. I would lean on the New York Jets in this spot because I'm getting points at home, but I'm looking to play over the total of 45 in this game, Kel. I think we're going to see both teams score. I think we're going to see less penalties by Cleveland. That's for damn sure. I'm struggling to find a side, but I do like over the total.
All right. Now it's Survivor, teaser, and Moneyline dog time.
Well, let's start with Survivor, Kel. So 10 years ago, I entered my first and only Survivor pool. I did it on a lark. It cost me $100. I'm like, hey, what the hell? It's going to be fun. I'm really excited. Miami was minus 13.5 against the LA Chargers. Opening game. Biggest point spread on the board. I was out in week 1. I never played Survivor again. This year, I enter the Survivor League and I take Philadelphia. They are down 17-0, and I'm literally going, oh my God, not again.
I took them too.
I want to tell you, I've never followed Survivor. I go and I look. Are you in this L. Kenny Survivor pool?
I'm in 3 of them. So I had Seattle, New Orleans, and Philadelphia. So I had to sweat every single one of those.
Okay.
Week 1.
So Al Kenny's Survivor pool, which you and I are both in, I took Philly. I won. But here's the strangest thing. And maybe it's a strategy program, but we had a bunch of guys take Chicago. I mean, you have every single team available to you, and you decide to take Chicago against Green Bay? Sure,
that just shows you the public perception of how high everybody was on the Bears to start the season.
Yeah, okay, fine, but
cleaned up.
But how do you not take the Chargers? How do you not take Philadelphia? How do you not take New England? How do you not take Baltimore? There were a ton of better options than Chicago. And here's the craziest thing. This one guy entered 3 teams. 3 teams. Win 1, win 2, and win 3. And he won none because he took Chicago all 3 teams.
Yikes.
I mean, is this... I don't know who you are, win 1, 2, 3. You're an idiot. I mean, if you want to take Chicago with one of your 3 teams, you're an idiot. But if you're going to take them with all 3 teams, you're an idiot to the power of 3. And then we had these other people take Cleveland. Cleveland. How could Cleveland have been the best team to take in a survivor pool on week 1? And then you had some morons take the Jets. The Jets. I mean, okay, we're in week 17. There's no teams left to choose from. You got to take the Jets? Fine. But really, the New York Jets in week frickin' 1? They had Dallas, Philly, Kansas City, Seattle. Granted, they should have lost. The Chargers, Baltimore. These twat faces take Chicago, Cleveland, and the New York Jets? What the hell is wrong with them? With all that said, Kelly, I understand that you're supposed to chart out your season. You know, you're only allowed to take a team once. I'm not going to go that way. I'm going to take New England and call it a day. I just want to get to week 3.
That's literally what I just did. I just took New England and my survivor because I had to for no other apparent reason other than I am not going to take them. I would rather take them now.
My strategy this year is really simple, Kel. I'm going to play against Miami as often as I can. Rather than picking on teams that I think are going to win, I'm going to pick against teams that are going to lose. So New England is my play for this week. And it looks like we will not make the hour mark. We'll be over.
Sounds about right.
What?
So that sounds about right.
Okay. A money line dog, Kel. What do you like?
I'm taking the Redskins.
Yeah.
Plus 4.5, plus 5. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit on the money line. Divisional home dogs, week 2. Our boy Ralph Michaels tweeted about it, and now I've already lost the page. Listen, this has just come to a point where I am not trying to overthink the NFL whatsoever. The 2 games I didn't overthink last week, no brainers. Not overthinking. I'm taking the line is begging for Dallas Cowboys money, and I'm going to take the other side.
Yeah, so I'm going to give you a bunch of money line bets, and I'm going to be putting my money on every single one of them. I'm going to take the New York Giants on the money line. I'm going to take Washington on the money line. I'm going to take Minnesota on the money line, and I'm going to take Denver on the money line. Look, all 3 of those are short, but I like all 4. I might even round robin them.
Round robin parlay,
Because
I think
I feel like all 4 of those teams. I feel like all 4 of those teams can win, and I'm telling you, 2 of them will win for sure. As far as my 3-team 10-point teaser, I'm not going to overthink this. I really don't like taking anything over the number of 0. Yet I will. I'm going to take Carolina. I'm going to take them 10 points. I'm going to take Baltimore. And I'm going to take New England. And I know that's about the squarest 3-team 10-point teaser you can find. But I don't see how I'm going to lose that one. That's easy for me. I know you didn't even know we were going to do this segment, so I don't know if you have one prepared. Do you?
I do not have a teaser prepared this week, Prez, but I promise you next week I will. Jacksonville killed my teaser last week, so maybe I need to take a week off and regroup.
Kelly, 55 seconds to the 1 hour mark. We're going to end the show in that time span. I'm the Prez. She's Kelly. We're the NFL Address, the second most watched handicapping show on the internet behind Wager Talk's Bet on It. Yes, it's a Wager Talk show. We went through everything top to bottom. We got 2 promotions. Dwayne Bryant's absolute must play. DB50 at wagertalk.com. DB50. That's 50% off of his plays. off of his entire NFL season, DB50, and Andrew McGinnis, $99 for the rest of his season in Canadian football, and that's at Sports Memo. Kel, you are the best. Have a great week. Kill it, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
Have a great week, everyone watching. Thank you guys for tuning in.